everyone, welcome to Must Read Monday. My name is Dabney. I'm the young adult librarian with the Twin Lakes Libraries, and I use they, them pronouns. This week we are going to be continuing on talking about dark academia, this week talking about books that have fantasy elements to them. So we are starting off with All That Consumes Us. If you haven't read Erica Waters, she writes really great Southern horror. I always love the settings. This particular book is set at Corbin College, and the main character, Tara, is a freshman. She's a scholarship student, and she really wants to join the Maggie Stiefvater group, which is like a really elite group on campus. Everyone who is a part of that group goes on to be extremely successful in whatever they're studying. And she's a writer, so of course she wants to get some of that prestige. Well, one of the students in the group mysteriously dies, and she's approached to see if she would like to join, which she does. But then things start happening. She's noticing things about other students in the group that is, really worrisome. Things aren't adding up, and then mysterious and alarming things start happening to her. So she's trying to research why this stuff is happening, find out the source, find out can it be undone, because she didn't sign up for this, right? She didn't know what she was getting into, but the group is kind of well, once you're in, and if you want out, then it's not good. So it is amazing. It's definitely horror, thriller, very, very good. Then there's A Lesson in Vengeance. So this is about Felicity. She's a student at Dalloway School. She took a year off when her girlfriend died very tragically. So now she's back, and she's kind of wanting to have a clean slate. She's starting over, but there's a new student there who is writing and researching the kind of mysterious history of the school, including the 5 Dalloway students who were said to be witches who all died in the past. So she's wanting to investigate all of that, and that is kind of the stuff that had previously sent Felicity sort of into a very bad, dark place. So she doesn't want to do it, but she's kind of under this girl's spell, and she's okay, I'm going to help you, but at what cost? So it said, when history begins to repeat itself, Felicity will have to face the darkness in Dalloway and in herself. Then we've got The Raven Boys, one of my favorite books. It's the first of a 4-book series, and this one is set mostly around Aglenby Academy in rural Virginia. The main character is not the main character. There's a lot of main characters, but Gansey is one of them. He's come specifically to this school to look for the Welsh King Glendower, who's said to be buried somewhere in this area. And the reason he's on this quest is because he was stung to death by bees when he was a boy, and he was brought back to life miraculously or magically, and was given this quest to find Glendower. So while he's at school, he befriends Ronan, Adam, Noah, and Blue. And so all of them are wrapped up in his quest to find this king. And if you find the king, he is supposed to give you a favor if you wake him up. And some of these characters have a favor in mind, so that's why they're in it, as well as to support their friend. But so much happens in this book. There's horror, there's magic, there's mysteries, there's secrets. Everyone is got stuff going on in their own lives, separate from this quest, but also kind of tied into it. And by the time the books are over, everyone is irrevocably changed by what's happened to them in this quest. So yeah, this is kind of not as dark, but still a very good book. Another one I'm excited to read is The Library of Shadows. So this one, the main character is enrolled at Radcliffe Prep, which was her dad's school. And it's the 3rd most haunted school in the country, where student disappearances aren't uncommon, and no one dares stay in the library after dark. I would stay in the library after dark. I want to see those ghosts. So while she's there, she meets Mateo, who is probably definitely a real ghost. However, he frames her for the theft of a rare book from the library's secret spire and then vanishes. SD will have to track him down or risk being expelled and leaving Radcliffe early, just like her father did. So she's there primarily to like learn more about her father, and basically she's like exploring all the secrets of this library, trying to find this ghost, trying to find out about these disappearances. But is she at risk of disappearing as well? I just think all of that sounds amazing. I can't wait to read that one. And I love the cover. This is another cover I really like, A Study in Grounding. So this one, the main character, Effie, she is starting her first term at the prestigious Lyrian Architecture College, and she's like obsessed with this one book about like the Fairy King. It's like her favorite book, and so the author's family announces a contest to redesign the late author's estate. Effie feels certain that this is her destiny, so she goes to check out this old house and finds somebody else is already living there, a literature professor, and he's determined to prove that this author guy was a fraud. And so they're both there, like investigating, learning, and dark forces, both mortal and magical, are conspiring against them, and the truth may bring them both to ruin. No, not at the old, potentially haunted house. Then back to some more boarding schools. The Forest Demands Its Due. I'll be honest, this cover, I did not know this was like a dark academia. I just thought this was like a fantasy horror. So good to know. It does have fantasy horror, but it's also dark academia about Regent Academy. 17-year-old Douglas wants nothing to do with Regent's king-making. He's just trying to forget his previous life and survive his present. But then a student is killed, and no one except for Douglas and the groundskeeper's son, Everett, remember him ever existing. As Douglas begins to research what he finds to be a centuries-long curse, he and Everett awaken a horror hidden within the forest. To save the school and the town, the forest is demanding more blood as payment. But will Douglas and Everett ever be able to pay that debt? Oh my gosh. Sounds good as well. A little bit different, we have Court of the Undying Seasons, which is about a vampire boarding school where humans go, and either they get turned into a vampire if they succeed. If they fail, they get to be a thrall or they die. So that sounds like a lot. And the main character, Finn, is going all through this, and yes, it said, as Finn begins to discover new aspects of her own identity and test her newfound powers, she stumbles across a string of murders that may be connected to a larger ritual, one with potentially lethal consequences for vampires and humans alike. Finn must uncover the truth and find the killer before she loses her life or betrays her own heart. Vampire School. Not to be confused with Vampire Academy, which is not really dark academia. It's just academy for vampires and lots of drama. And then finally, The Taking of Jake Livingston. This one, Jake is going to like a prestigious like prep school that is primarily white, and he is like one of the only black students there. So he's like always feeling out of place and struggling with it. And then in his neighborhood, it said he's a survivor of a grisly school shooting. But when his neighbor, a survivor of a grisly school shooting, is murdered and the bloody initials of the now dead shooter, Sawyer Doone, are left on the entryway wall of Jake's home, Jake is forced to confront another world he wishes he could escape, the world of the dead. And so he's also a medium, so he can communicate with the dead. And now he's like dealing with all the stuff at school, but also trying to track down this ghost who is going after people. So